5. Form. Okay, the posting of the agenda.
Yes.
Okay.
Our old chair used to let us have the meetings outside if the weather.
Those must have been secret meetings.
Thank you so much.
Announcements of any changes to the agenda.
There's one change at the very end. Well, there's a couple of changes. I'm always going to make an announcement, on the SBCCOG, and I'm going to talk about the Metro Service Council under, updates.
Okay. Good. And now we'll go to the public comments. You know, we have time.
Yes, okay. So I'm doing a public comment because it's not on the agenda. I did request it to be put on, but it's not. So this is why I'm doing a public comment. I just simply want to test, and I've already discussed this with Barry. There is an issue whereby, because now Britt has succeeded to be the president of the LA division. I had been told back in the day when I was the COG representative that if you're an officer, you cannot serve as the representative of COG. And I assume that to be true, but I did recently look at it, and it says, doesn't have a prescription. It just basically says we have these 5 officers and we have 8 members that are representatives of the COGs. So I don't know how that got to me that you can't do it, but I remember last year when Britt then wanted to be an officer, she was our representative after me. I had mentioned, well, this is the rule. I'd like to go back to being the representative of the COG, especially with all this experience I have in the LA division. And so, but now I understand, and the reason it's not on the agenda is that there was some rule that had been enacted back in 2012 that for committees that they only want to consider those every 2 years. So all I'm asking is that we have it on the agenda for our next meeting, our board meeting, just to discuss the issue, whether we make an exception to that rule, just to have a vote and have everybody who wants to be interested to serve as our representative on the LA division could apply, and whether we consider that. So that's all I want.
Thank you. Any other comments? Public comments?
Let's say, don't we have a referral section?
Oh, it is.
Yes. So, under the bylaws, the steering committee makes referrals for the agenda, future agenda items. That could be one during the referrals previously put on the agenda. This board meeting agenda development for K.
Yeah, so do that next year. Request for it to be agenda.
Yeah.
It says case of election procedure. Yeah.
Board meeting agenda development.
Oh, that's J. Okay, I understood K.
Oh, I have it as K in this.
Oh, okay, I have the one from here. Okay. Okay, well, I just, I have my meeting also, I brought materials for my council meeting, but I didn't know that, it wasn't clear that that was something that could be done. And in addition, I just also want to make sure you guys know about a free event with hands-on that's coming up on Thursday. It's going to be like all these tips that she gave for being in my office. That's all the things.
Okay, so well, that'll be later in the agenda. Are you gonna stay or? Cause I can,
If I can, I had
Okay.
3 site visits for
I have
Saturday,
it.
but
I don't exactly know what the name of the agenda item would be. What, are you asking for a reconsideration of our 2-year policy, or is that, I don't know what you're asking for.
okay,
On the agenda.
I'm just asking for the LA division representation by the COG, whether it's a change in the policy or an exception to the policy, I don't care, but just for consideration, whether the board would like to consider, hey, we have an opening now because Britt has just become, we want to reconsider it and have anybody that wants to apply, even though there was this 2-year rule, which I remember mentioning that I would like to come as soon as,
Don't have an opening.
well, Yeah, I mentioned that I wanted to rejoin after,
Right, I know.
and no one said anything about it, so I did not,
Well, I would like to do it for your term. Same.
well, apparently they told you something, because I mentioned it at the meeting and nobody said anything, oh, you can't do that because it's your term, but nobody, because I clearly said, hey, I'm doing this year, I want to be able to do that. And I thought it was whenever there's an opening, I had no idea.
So at this point, basically, it would be a policy change, right? Or an exception if it were to go to the court. Okay. Okay, the public comments will go to Sanko.
Ron, you in second? Okay. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Going on to action items. G, General Assembly, location and topics.
Okay, so on page 14. We can start with the topics. We got down here 3 different topics. That we came up with, obviously, that's not the end all. So if you have another topic, please let us know. The 3 topics that we sort of discussed in it previously, and some new ones are, the first one would be the major sporting events come to Los Angeles and the impact on the South Bay from these entertainment events. So economy and transportation, generally quality of life, and so it would be, the reason everybody's doing this would be specifically South Bay events. Second would be escalating effects and impacts to climate change. What's happening with climate change, as you all know, is that it's happening faster and faster. We're seeing more and more really bad events. And so what does that mean? The third would be, we clearly have a new federal-state relationship, at least for several years. And so what is the result of that? How does it affect us? It has on law enforcement, the research and whatever we might do to our local businesses, the reduction in social service programs, tariffs, how will that really affect the South? So those are the 3 titles that it would be very helpful. I'm bringing that type of topic.
More for the first topic. Not being how you're going to address during all of these activities taking place, I think, several years. You know, not just the Olympics, lots of them starting next year all the way up to.
Any other thoughts?
I just wonder if something focused on sporting events is gonna be a little late, because people are getting it here now, trying to attract teams and have viewing parties and stuff. I know that we formed a subcommittee already. But, yeah, so I think it's a great topic. I would, but like to wait till May of next year, I wonder how much benefit it'll, start March next year. I wonder how much benefit it'll confer on the cities, but
It's our thought that, that we would discuss the viewing events, but we'd also discuss getting economists to talk about what it's like in the theme, talk about the transportation, where it is at that point. So I don't think it'll be.
Not just about the entertainment.
Yeah, it's not about the entertainment, it's about what does that mean? And how will it impact our economy?
Infrastructure, the transportation, your public safety, I'm thinking infrastructure areas, things that how traffic would be mitigated during that process. So,
Economic development is a big piece of it too. So for those of us who are around for the 84 Olympics, it's had those. It was an amazing time. Man, I had the the fortune of working in the Olympic Village. And it was electric. It was really something. One of my fondest memories is watching a boxer walk back to the sports arena with this gold medal around the neck. And looking right to me, he went, oh, you know, I thought, oh, here's the guy who won. But anyway, but there, and everybody makes up the economic impact from the macro perspective, but for small businesses around, around the Olympic Village, it was the back down. It was amazing how hard it was to get to them and the negative impact. So this time we're talking about these 25, if you're not aware of this, 25 transit centers throughout the county. And you can go to a transit center and then be shuttled via whatever appropriate conveyance to whatever you're gonna go see. And the idea being no cars going to the venues for a transportation perspective, also for security. So I know County Commission has been working on this, local government services. And we're meeting tomorrow. And there are so many moving parts of all this. And so it's very much in order for us to get together and talk about these things, because I'm impressed with how many people are working on how many different things. But I also recognize there's a whole lot of stuff happening without one hand doing what the other is doing that are working cross purposes. So I think we need to have this as a topic so people are aware, even with the World Cup, which is a lot smaller, but it's still big and messy. So if it's going to be big and messy, how do we make it be big and fun messy as opposed to big and oops, we should have thought about that.
You know, this has come up before, and I gave you several titles of choice, but you guys want to vote on something in this direction right now. Right.
Be interested in a sort of diversifying. Yeah.
I think we should do it, but I'm not sure.
But I think from my perspective, the importance is the whole piece of it, no one understands. Not just, you know. If this is prevented.
I'm wondering if one is person I got into this concert, could have a table and start like an exhibit.
Throw it out there for you.
Well, let's be, maybe.
Yeah, like a little breakout, we've done that for a little breakout.
So.
No, exactly.
A lot of things with issues and things and specific which.
So if you do want to go with the sporting events, but wait, we do want to go with that. The title would be Let the Games Begin. Referring to all of these different things.
Triple up contrary.
Because why am I picturing creative direction?
Hold on a second. Let the Games Begin is a really good title. I just want to draw your attention to the 4 titles that we got off. And artificial intelligence. Some of them I thought were pretty good too, but they're very long. One is More Than a Game, How Sports and Entertainment Venues Are Transforming South Bay. One is Play, Perform, Prosper, Leveraging Entertainment for Regional Success. Fields of Impact, How Sports and Entertainment Are Shaping South Bay. Business of Entertainment, Regional Impacts, Local Opportunities. Yeah, no, this is,
Now,
is it, sounds like, doesn't say
That's
that.
why I was wondering if it's learning. Oh, absolutely. An explanation.
The first one again.
Here's one, more than a game. Now sports and entertainment venues and towards more. So, we need to say anything about like the games. And,
Change it at the beginning, just put.
sports and entertainment, so, yeah.
Being academic, you do have to have a colon in there. There's always.
There is a
has to be
colon. Sports and
Possible
entertainment.
paradigm.
You have the word venue, because you have the other fields in touch house, sports, entertainment, or
Shape is
stuff.
You would like shaping or transforming, I guess shaping. is better. Shaping is better. Okay, sounds good, thank you.
Get the AI there. I gotta worry about that.
David's helping.
Oh,
No,
I don't know.
Okay, so,
Thank
thank you. Now, there's one other thing, that we talked about. First of all, I don't know if anybody, and I guess, Mayor Butts is here. It would be really fun to have this, like, at the Intuit Domes. But I know they're extremely expensive, so so if there's any way that we could get a venue that would be in the entertainment center, that would really be, that was, I think.
A venue to do what? You guys are coming a little garbled. So I did hear sports entertainment. So what was the premise?
This is the General Assembly we're talking about.
Oh, okay. A General Assembly of what?
It would be about sports and entertainment and how they're affecting the South Bay or shaping the South Bay.
And the participants would be what? The South Bay mayors or something like that? What?
The General Assembly is everybody in the South Bay. But we invite the general public, but it's elected officials and city staff, legislators.
I think he's asking who will be speaking.
We don't have a program.
Right.
I can't tell you what the program is. I mean, if we could get Stan Kroenke, he could speak. I mean, I don't know, we don't have the program.
I don't think you could expect Stan Kroenke to speak.
Oh, you heard that one, huh?
I think you can shelve that one.
So I don't, what the point is that we were thinking, we could figure out a way to do that inexpensively. Maybe it's a good place to have general assembly.
Okay, you're talking about SoFi or the Intuit Dome?
Either one.
Or you might be better off thinking about the YouTube Theater. YouTube Theater, 6,000 seats. It's more intimate. It has a stage. I think that'd be more appropriate. You're gonna get swallowed up. You're gonna get swallowed up in an 18,000 seat arena.
You have somebody you can,
Okay, wait down at the front desk. I'll have to get you.
I don't know if any of you have contact with there, but we're gonna.
That's 18,000 seats, you guys. I don't know that you'd want to get swallowed up in an 18,000 seat arena.
Can you contact me with or can you contact them?
Okay, there you go. Okay, but I'd be willing, the bottom line is I'd be willing to help any way I could, but you need to pick an appropriate size venue.
Go better than we do, but that was just our thought.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That's okay with all of you.
Yeah, YouTube's nice. I think that.
Okay, we probably should go see it. So.
And then we have another venue. It's called the We Play Theater. And that's good for like 2,000 people. It's really modern. So there are options.
Great.
Yeah, we've never had the General Assembly in Inglewood. We should.
What's that, sir?
We've never had the General Assembly in Inglewood, and we should do that.
And you should do that. You've been missing out. Go ahead.
You knew you would be in agreement with that one.
All right.
Okay, so we'll work on that and get back to you. I think that's all we needed on this. Okay, thank you. And we'll take that to the board.
Perfect. We'll move along to.
Hey, but real quick, you guys, do you have an idea of how many people you would expect to come? Do you have any idea?
We've been getting about 400 people, but I think if we were in Inglewood at one of your venues, we might get more.
You might get how many?
500 or 600.
Okay. Okay. Then that gives me an idea. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have to get the partnership. Okay, Kim, you want to do this one? And it's on page 17.
Page 17. So we had some discussions, thanking our elected officials for putting us in the Power Alliance and, digital spark, partnerships with them. And so we've had a meeting with them. Jackie and I were talking and said, you know, we don't have a formal policy on what is a partnership? How do we define it? To be our environmental service, our, something environmental partnership, which was big, the patient districts, and like metro, and all of that. So I sat down and drafted out for you a policy for your consideration. And just to kind of walk you through it a little bit, the first thing we decided is that we needed to have, you know, the partnership has to be with an agency that we have mutual goals. Their mission and programs need to align with ours. We typically want a commitment, a financial commitment. So we set a minimum of 5 years financial commitment, and that does come in different ways. So for example, we've been partners with West Basin for like 20 years now, but those are annual contracts. We don't have like a 5-year contract. But the idea is that they would be committed to ongoing long-term funding. And we did this actually with LA County when we first became partners with the South Bay Regional Energy Network. They could only do a 1-year contract with us. We said, okay, but are you committed with a verbal commitment? Yes, we're committed to funding for. So that's how that should kind of work. We want it to be a true collaboration. So it's not that we're going to be under contract with these agencies. We want to work with them. We want to help design programs. We want to help design how does it get implemented into the South Bay. You know, what things do they need to be thinking about when they're doing that? So it would be a collaboration, true partnership, and not just us implementing a scope of work. We have a lot of grassroots efforts, so the reason why this would be an advantage to them is that we have newsletters, we tour events, we table out for events a year. We have workshops, you know, with city presentations, we help identify speakers for, you know, working with those agencies at different venues across the South Bay. We'd also help with implementation of programs, evaluation, coordinating. A lot of times, the agency will come to us and they have something that they want to implement. They want to do an evaluation tool, do feedback on that, and then of course we do coordination. And then on page 19, we talk about what does it mean to become a partner? How would you do this? And we would look for some kind of communication to us, a letter of interest, and then we would develop a scope of work with them. And then there would be some like more content. Sometimes it does come in the form of an MOU or a contract. Sometimes it is a scope of work, like you'll see at the day that you board sanitation districts, because of their authority, it doesn't have to go through a whole board, so it comes to us as just a scope of work. But there'd be some kind of a written understanding of what we were going to do for them and what that partnership looks like. And then we were talking about the financial commitment, and what we thought was really a minimum to be partners with us would be a $25,000 grant. And we could work, you know, one-on-one with agencies if there was some reason that they might want to commit less. But because of the access that they get with working with us, we really think that that's a fair amount. In addition, most of our existing partnership contracts are well over that. I think that sanitation district for almost 50,000. West Basin is like 170,000. So it's normal to have much higher. And then I think that's everything. Is there any questions about what I went through?
Yeah, so I mean, is there anybody that we have been working with either currently or in the recent past that would not fall into this type of framework? Because I don't want, if we're turning away business, let's say, because they say, well, I don't want to, I can't commit to 5 years, or we just want to see how it goes for first year or something like that, because we don't know, they're a brand new organization with us. Or they can't do their 25,000, like, we just, I don't know if we want to make it hard and fast policy that we're only going to consider that. I mean, so that's why I'm asking.
Speak to that. I think that being a partner is really special. And we have 1-year contracts with a lot of different organizations, but when you're a partner with brand, you want all of it. And so the problem is you don't want to do that every year. So we want to make partnerships something that is very significant. It makes it.
But it's not prohibiting us from having 1-year contracts.
Oh, no.
Okay, so that's why I was trying to.
And it doesn't negatively impact any of our existing partnerships. This is really in line with what we currently are.
And you think that would attract more partners? I mean, that's another thing, is it gonna give us what we want to work with that?
Well, we're really careful about that because we could always enter into a contract with your approval, right, with just implementing programs. Like we can do that, but this is different because we're going to be working with them very closely and their mission needs to be aligned with what we're doing. So for example, in the Clean Power Alliance, it fits perfectly into our environmental program. Probably I would reach out to South Coast Air Quality Management District. That would probably be a good one, but not just any organization would be considered.
Okay, so what would be the advantages in the top?
Yeah.
From doing this program, if it's what we're doing now, that means that's effective partner.
Right.
What is
So first of all, it defines it, just, we haven't actually had a formal definition, so it would define it. The other thing that it does is, allows us to make sure that as agencies come into the South Bay and have their programs, that we're a part of that as well. So that's an additional advantage.
and they would come to us as well, or be by their program?
Well, so for example, you could you wouldn't do this for like a private agent, vendor, for example. They'd say, oh, I want to be a partner. No, we're not going to be a partner.
Well, I'm just trying, so just a formal process.
Yeah.
It's not.
Formalize it,
Don't
but
get
it's
that wrong,
different.
and be getting better partners or more money or anything.
Potentially, we could get 2 new partners next year, which are the ones I just mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, advantages.
Yeah.
So it's a whatever. Any other questions?
Any opposition? Any abstentions?
Legislation.
Okay, we have, first of all, I want to start backwards. We have the legislative briefing this Thursday. It's at 9:00 in the morning, and it is virtual start. So we've got a whole bunch of questions, and I hope you'll all participate at 9 to 10:45 approximately. David, you want to go through the matrix?
Sure. We have a handful of new bills for you all to consider this month. The first one is AB 261. We're recommending support for that one. And that one would allow state fire marshal to work with entities on updates to the fire hazard severity zone map designations in between their regular map updates. And then similar to that is AB 300, which would require map updates every 5 years. Since the peninsula is such a high fire zone, and as climate change keeps getting worse, we think more frequent updates of that map is probably a good approach. Next up is SB 454. We're recommending a support position on that one, which if it's funded by the legislature through an appropriation process, would create the PFAS mitigation fund to help fund mitigation projects for local water agencies and cities. SB 346 is a short-term rental related bill. We're recommending support on that one. It would require
short-term rental facilitators to provide the address of listings. And it gives cities, audit authority for TOT collection. SB 707 is it's an oppose unless amended recommendation, but it's a hot mess of an update to the Brown Act. They put together, I don't know, half a dozen different bills into SB 707. And it does some good things, but it also does a lot of not so great things. For example, it eliminates the AB 2449 sunset, which we think is good. It expands some of the emergency meeting laws, things like that, but it also requires more translation into different languages of agendas, like bulletin board, or the community to post their own translations of agenda items. It does exempt the cities from being responsible for any of the content that those translations have in them, but it's just a much messier bill. And overall, I think there's more negatives than positives to it. So we're recommending an oppose unless amended. AB 1061, we're recommending an oppose, which would limit some of the historical district exemptions that cities have to deny SB 9 projects. And then the last one is SB 74. We're recommending support position, and that would create the Infrastructure Gap Fund program, which would provide grants to local agencies up to 20% of an infrastructure project's additional projected costs over its initial budget. As projects continue to go up in costs, cities are often left with that gap between when they first develop the project cost and when bids and everything actually come in and things start to have to actually get built. And so this would be run through the whatever the new version of GoBiz, I think, is in the governor's office, and would provide up to 20% of that additional cost. The only real requirement is that the city has to have contributed at least 45% of the additional budget through an existing local tax measure. So measure R and any of the Prop C or any money would essentially count that. Recommending a support for that bill. So those are all the new ones. There's a couple updates that I saw on Friday from other bills that I think had died in process that we didn't take off the matrix. Happy to answer any questions on any of those.
Question, I'm not sure, because I haven't been able to attend the steering committee, because my council meets the same night, but do we have an ability to recommend an additional bill that people have been talking to us about, that AB 470, I mentioned it in the last meeting, that the league has opposed, trying to remove copper landlines that are the only ability that, during the multi-fire, that only the people with copper landlines got alerts in Malibu, and AT&T is agency government because it is a big cost to them to maintain them, but they don't have any other really infrastructure in place to replace it. And effectively, fiber, you don't have power, you're not going to get fiber to work either, because it needs power at the onset. So it's already before the CPUC, and they already rejected it last year because they brought a bill that was pretty much similar to it. So, and CPUC is already considering what circumstances they would allow it to take place. And so to go up to the legislature to try to go up and around what current CPUC hearing is problematic. And so I would ask that we would oppose that for the aforementioned reasons. I don't know if that's appropriate though.
So the board did consider that issue last year, and we decided to stay neutral on either side of it. I think there was disagreement at the board level between the two. So it's certain, I mean, this steering committee can recommend positions, obviously, and so if the board would like to entertain that position at the end of the month, I think that's this body's prerogative.
Okay, so the only thing I'd say that's different from last year is that then the CPUC, at that point, the CPUC just about to rule on it. They actually did have extensive hearings and they voted against allowing them to do what they're asking. And then there's current process that they're setting up to just to kind of go through all of the research, what would be needed before they could effectively, remove these solar lines because it's important for public safety. 911 providers are saying don't do that because that's how they are able to make calls for 911 calls and things like that. So I think there's been some changes since then. I just like to add those.
Do you want to make a motion to add it to the matrix?
Yes,
With
please.
with the position of supporter opposed?
Opposed, yes. I would add, okay, thank you for that. Clarification. And maybe with a recommendation of opposed.
I would like to know on him. Just so I can understand. Is it possible?
There have been a lot of changes. It's complex.
Well, okay, what I was gonna say is, I realized this is down for an actual position today. Because our board doesn't move till the
48, I think.
28th. The legislature adjourns the 31st, so it doesn't really make any sense to hold things off to the board meeting. You really have to do it today. So, well,
If we take a position on it, what happens?
David writes incredibly compelling letter. So, oh my gosh, we did. I mean, the world will not, and
Yeah.
so,
Well, let's keep in mind that in history, the public transit rail system started as a private enterprise. And when it became obsolete, it turned it over to the government. And I'm suspicious that the public switch network based on copper is obsolete. And at the end of the day, one of the scenarios was this whole FRS turned over to the government. Anyway, so it's onto an interesting policy issue. I don't know how you protect and consider whether or not maybe it's a good idea. I mean, we're still paying for the public transit that they inherited from the private guys who made a ton of money. I don't know if it works well. It's American way. Huh?
American way.
It's the American way. It doesn't work. It's the government.
Well, I mean, I guess there's two separate issues. One is the underlying substantive issue, whether it would be good to move out copper lines. But the second one is, should the legislature be used as a tool to subvert an ongoing process that is taking place at the California PUC? Because they review all these things, that's their expertise. And so to me, I just think it's inherently wrong. I mean, if you have a public forum where people can speak that are gonna be disadvantaged, this is taking place across the whole state. That's what the California Public Utilities Commission would do, and they did rule on it, and you shouldn't be able to just go around them, that process, extend them up to do. So that's a situation that, if you're feeling more comfortable addressing the process issue, it could be, I think that's a valuable issue that we need to preserve, because otherwise, why have a public utilities commission if your opinions are only advisory after hearing all this comment? And I had to wait for 6 hours to get 1 minute of comment on behalf of the LA division at that point. So I feel like, dude, I spent 6 hours of my life waiting for this 1 minute of comment, but anyway.
So we have a motion for a second.
and this will be made.
Oh, there was no.
No, the motion, we made a motion to add to the matrix and oppose.
Yeah, okay, we can add to this proposed, AB for second. Yeah, so,
But your point about process is strictly will take.
yeah.
If we were to research out individual. Especially to letters from engineer.
Yeah, yeah, and there was a letter, yeah, that was sent around Workdale, and they're enough, it just for the 911 providers are saying, please don't, really compromise, that's how we communicated, or the responders use 911 communication. So,
Okay, yeah, so we'll proceed down to, the rest of the meetings. We have a motion. Second. Second.
Right.
Okay.
Any opposition? Any abstention?
Wait, opposition to taking the opposition position.
The opposition to the, take the recommendations of the matrix.
Okay, gotcha.
Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
So now we're on to the board agenda, and our board agenda right now has two presentations on. it. One presentation, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say something. Redonda Beach's check paid today.
We're about the tax city manager.
I'm sorry, I meant to say that.
And it's Carson saying it.
Well,
We're not going anywhere.
okay. Well, because.
Yeah.
But you know, I saw the letter that says that if you don't get, we don't get, it's not discretionary, this is in our JPA. We don't get it by August 31st, you lose your vote. So we really need to get the check. Yeah. So that's the issue to me right now, is it's not, trust you, but.
I'm back.
Send it back, baby.
I'm back.
Okay. So back to the board agenda, obviously, we have two presentations. One is Kim and Wally are going to talk about our cloud sustainability program and where we're looking forward to doing that for the coming year. And then we also have the Metropolitan Water District, just like to request from you a supporting position on the Delta Water Maintenance Project. So they're going to go. And then, of course, we're gonna bring all this issues to make that together. So that's the board agenda. We can discuss on that, unless you have other goals. What?
I know the AT&T is so they go back to those old.
No, she monitors our meetings. She
Yeah.
doesn't have to. No, she hasn't asked for time. And then September will be the Western States Petroleum would like to talk to you about refinery closures, both confirmed and state and South Bay. And then the Baldwin Hills Conservancy. give an update. In October, we've asked Waymo to come, but I don't know. We haven't heard, or
If they can sort it away.
if they can find a way, right? Yeah. So, and in November, we have our classification competitions. So those are the meeting date things that I have so far. November is also, we're planning, the volunteer reception, which we have in November and in open house.
I mean, when is this the time that would be added to the August agenda for discussion of the issue of exception? And that's what I thought was the agenda, that is, right,
This is the agendas, yes, yeah. So,
Sorry.
well, no,
Okay, yeah, so, okay, so request and
well, there would be no potential action items, if they say they have to create an exception, then it would be an action. Yeah.
it's an exception to our 2-year term.
Are we adding another representative?
So-
What happened was that the history of it, I don't know any assurances that were given or not given, but we have one representative from the COG to the LA division. When B became an officer, then she got her own seat. And so the COG at that time said, well, if she has her own seat, we could, that's not our representative. So we will get our own representative. And that's when we started, that Rick got her seat. And after Rick got her own seat, then Barry got one. And we have a policy of 2-year terms, and Barry has 1 more year on his term. And he can run for election, anybody can run for election, don't promise anybody the term. So the issue is, do you want, if you create an exception, then, and then you have to have a vote, then you have to fill the 1 year, you know, you have
So
to,
that'd be getting rid of Mary.
yes.
Right.
And the only thing I was saying is, I basically put into the clause, you need to fill my seat, because they told me I can't serve as an officer and a member of the COG. But when I look back at their bylaws for the LA division, it doesn't say that. It just simply says we got these 5 officers and we have these 8 representatives, and they translated that as can't do both. But
It is, it wasn't, he put it, not tried it, record. It was that was down your seat and had no help.
okay, well, I'm telling you what they told me. I mean, and so basically, I communicated that I can't, they can't be, the representative now. So anyway, and I remember mentioning it last year when I said, well, I do want to come back, next year, because I'll be off the board then. I won't be the immediate past president like I was as of earlier this month. So that, and I don't remember anybody saying it, I would have remembered, oh, you mean I can't do that?
You did express that desire, but.
And I,
Yeah, no, I understand, but I'm just saying.
And I
that was my
know-
understanding.
so just because this now involves Barry, I'd like to be very, just to confirm, are you still interested at this point? Kind of-
Yes, I would like to fill up my term.
I guess it was brought up that I could, when I said, I wanted, after this year's out, I want to go back and do it, and nobody said, oh, no, you can't, because you'll still be in a 2-year term, nobody said that.
I think everybody's not taking it.
Oh, it was from, apparently it was a policy that was enacted in 2012, so it wasn't something that was recent, and I certainly did not know about it.
I mean, it was presented as a 2-year term.
Yeah, I would have an election for 1. Will not be that.
Well, okay, I guess nobody, I just did not hear that at all, so I
want to get clarified. Well. I don't know. Process moving forward. At the end, veterans and their. I mean, so,
Your turn.
right, at the end, right, so it's a clear, in our policies, it's a 2-year term.
It's not, it's kind of something that was enacted in 2012, it's not in our bylaws, is what I meant.
It's
Okay,
a
like check the
policy, and I sent the policy. So,
And the other, the question is, can you serve too as a, title and then also rep? I guess that part too will happen there, I think.
okay, done. And you can vote, but the COG is not going to sit and this would give us more seats on the board. And so why wouldn't we take that opportunity to have more seats on?
Okay, I maybe you got to understand the way, but I was told by the LA division that I could not be the.
Oh, okay, so I don't know if you can't, then that.
And,
okay.
but it's not in their bylaws.
Okay, yeah, I've never seen it in their bylaws. I
And
just
so
saw-
all I'm saying is that whether, I don't understand why that happened, like, is that something that more easy for the COG to see, here's why they wouldn't just replace people when the seat becomes available, because one of our representatives.
But it isn't to them.
Well, it ordinarily would be available, except that it is to your rule, and I don't know who.
The board voted on the rule is
What Kelsey,
Cal City's board as a regional rep of the COG.
so you're currently the rep?
No, I was, up to the point where I became vice president, then they told me you can't be the rep anymore, you've got to get
So
the.
now you're, so now Barry's the rep, so a year ago, we both felt like we can, so now he wants to basically take that seat. But his is unexpired, so I guess the question is, is there interest? Statutory.
Why do we have to? As I guess, I don't know why.
I mean, don't we like to
When it
move
comes up.
people around and let different people participate in leadership
Well,
and the like,
essentially, I guess.
and geographic diversity?
There you go.
If there's interest, if not.
Third person.
Geographic diversity.
You're right.
Same difference.
Keyword.
I'm just wondering, is it just a created for staff to have it and come up with
Let's come to the step. The idea is that, just that they just said, I mean, I wanted to say this is a board. Policy. The board said, all these people that are in here, and what happens is a lot of people that are here a long time take the roles and no new board member can ever get on any of these committees because they're taken up already. So at that time, 2012, and reaffirmed again, I think, 15 or 16, or 2 iterations of this, he said, for any organization that does not have a term, some of SCAG has a term, but if it doesn't have a term, then we would create a term so that new council members would have a chance. That was really the motivation.
Isn't your co-council member a president now?
No, that's Rolling Hills State. I'm Rolling Hills. We actually were two separate cities. And
Okay,
North
got it.
Carolina is that.
Separated by a big gap.
And then just to get on their discussion, is there any interest in revisiting your policy? Which it wouldn't impact, this seat currently, but that would be, I guess, the question.
When it comes up or something, when the opening, because I mean, it doesn't happen that often that one of our members will become an office. I mean, so that's an exception of that. And maybe that could be the part of the policy, that's all.
Okay,
Although we have another chair coming up, because in, the 2 years, Bill will be the chair of the LA.
But now we need council members on the board, and that's another issue. I mean, if there is. Well, yeah, no, maybe you're right.
Well, we had a powerhouse.
Yeah, that was the report, right?
But I have to.
Oh, I get it, but it goes back to the D word, right? The person. One of the things that I think we do well is the person. You know, you gotta spread love, because a lot of organizations that we all know about are not very good at that. It's the same, okay, don't get me wrong, it's great that you're stepping up, and your knowledge is second to none. And we rely on them a lot, but, you know, at some point, you gotta say, hey, let's say, it's gonna get someone thoughtful, okay.
Okay, well, I just wanted to bring it up, and I thought perhaps that would be something that because I thought that was a rule, I didn't even know about this 2-year rule, I thought it was for organizations that had 2-year terms or something.
My quick review for that, something that brings back the thing. And flush out all we discussed and then bring it back to that.
I think,
We're ready to go.
yeah, I think we could discuss policy wise, but
I put dual,
you know, if you have a city's representation, talk about that. I think that's fair. Or future agenda item, move on the next election.
Wanted to actually discuss it, but it's not put on.
That's true.
It
It
was
was,
been discussed.
yeah, okay.
But that was.
And just on the.
So I'm gonna move this along now.
so you want the 2-year policy on the agenda. We're going to wait for, in March is our new cycle. We're all heard.
Wait, those, right?
So maybe next.
Right.
Oh,
People remember that, yeah.
Okay, we don't go on there.
yeah, we had talked about policies, which is another policy procedure that we have talked about, that we should do it now. And this is the selection of the nominee. And the nominating committee, what happens for years, we have a reason we have a nominating committee is we couldn't find people who were interested in running. My dream has come true. People actually want to be on this board and want to be officers. So we have actually gotten contested elections. And so instead of having, yes, so instead of having a nominating committee where 4 people go around and figure out who they want, or who they think would be good, we could have a just an open process. So what this says is that there is an open process, but a nominating committee can be named. And it would have to look for geographic representation, history of service, like how many times the city was in a position, gender balance, and demonstrated interest and engagement in activities. So if we opened the process, people nominated themselves, and we found out they were all from the same city, or they were all, that city was not even a member, who knows? Then the nominating committee would say, no, these people don't meet that criteria. And they would still be a nominating committee, and they would work on, that's one. We didn't have a committee this year.
Right, but if we said, if I raise my hand in favor,
Right.
B raised her hand, right?
Well,
Or her hand, right?
You said, you think you're not.
well, no, you can't,
You can't do that.
no, for years we've had the nominating committee, I thought it was probably time to get rid of it, but then it just came back. So,
So I appreciate these bullets and that they're your kind of criteria that nominating committee should base their decisions on. I don't know what geographic representation across South Bay region means, because if you're a member of the COG, you're representing the South Bay, right? So
Just, I'll cut through the mishmash on that. It's just not the same city 3 times in a row.
okay, but that's history of service, and so I would
Well,
want.
that's individual as opposed to,
No, it says including the last time a nominee's city
wow,
held an officer position.
right.
So, and then the other point is that's not clarifying that, for example, El Segundo had it 3 years later, they shouldn't have it again. So we should state, with an eye on, with the goal of, allowing a greater number of cities to have leadership positions, right? Or not repeat, the same city repeating in leadership over and over. Right? I mean, that's, I was just saying, that's my suggestion for how we clarify these criteria.
I was also going to say for things under consideration, because you could potentially turn out where there's a lack of. Okay, that won't happen, but where you may need to.
right,
have
right,
something.
and that's, okay, so that's what this says, is if the names don't lead to the first name, or there aren't enough names, then the nominating committee actually does do nominations. So they're sort of there if you need them at the end of the day. But if there's an open process, then nobody gets anointed by the 4 members before they get to the full board. It's the idea of this. And then if a vacancy occurs, chair, and then the other thing about it is the nominating committee sometimes has consisted of all the former chairs. We have a lot of former chairs. So this would be, the chair would form with the past chair. And then they could pick, the current chair would pick up as 3 members. That's what's interesting.
And well, there's one other point, and I think I have.
No, we didn't, but what, to get a former one?
Yeah, there was something about.
Jim?
I don't know, yeah,
Oh, after she,
yeah.
well, that was the history of all this, is that Riz called all former chairs. And, but she wasn't the chair, she called all the former chairs, so she must have called them.
Oh, I, before you said it was fun, but is that?
I don't think you, I don't know, because that she was no longer. So that's not normally.
Okay, I just want to make the clarification. That's something.
If in office, I should say that.
Because I feel like this is the board that.
Right. I have to add that.
I guess the discussion is, do we want the nominee? Because that did come up at it was a suggestion from, I think, one. So.
I don't see the need,
Is this foreclose the possibility that somebody tosses their name in the ring anyways come election day?
No, well, this doesn't foreclose it, but the way, we didn't have a nominating, open nominations in May. keep them open till June, close to June.
Okay, and so then the nominating committee comes back and says, we considered these three nominees, but we selected Mary.
Right.
And then the full body votes on the three, not all of them.
All of them, but one has special status. They come.
They have the endorsement of the nominating.
Right.
committee. I mean, I'm fine with this as long as we verify what we're going for in history of service and what geographic representation.
Well, you can either do this or no nominating. So, okay.
I would know. I don't.
As long as we get volunteers, we don't need it.
Right, well, I mean, at the end of the day, you're not gonna, even if you have one, you still need volunteers.
Well, I guess this also doesn't,
I mean,
Faculty would have not being committee, but there is a point of if there is a lack of interest, perhaps then that could create.
but the nominating committee still has to find interest. So if nobody raised their hand to volunteer, then the committee's gotta go, come on, Dan, hey, come on, please. We do that anyway, right? It's a, all right, we really need somebody to know stuff up.
It was reminded to be Northwell. No.
Well, we're deciding should that be. Okay, so I know. No.
Past year, I don't think it's very nice.
We will get a vote on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
How about you saying, you know?
but the other goal in here was to come up with election procedures to ensure that
No, that makes sense.
everybody, so I would ask that if we don't move forward with the nominating committee, we do,
The election procedure.
pass forward to the board and the election procedures.
Okay, with the election procedures, I have to change with those. You wrote it down on each page.
Right,
Sure.
right.
Okay, so then you want that to go to the,
Okay, then the process of, if any member wants to be still more, any other conditions, say that. I think that's the way.
so,
That's just done ahead of time.
yeah, no, in May. they-
That's why I made the meeting with the people, were part of the organization, she wanted to say the protection. So I submitted
They
my-
send a minute to me, that should be. Executive director.
So it's, you say, hey, we got 3 people who want it. One meeting, we all get to say our piece, they vote, they
And then 3 minutes each. person.
reply.
Okay, and then the other thing that's down here that's really important is we wanted to codify the written ballot, which, but because of the Brown Act, the votes have to come. I think we announced by city or by person. You want it by city or by person. Yeah, it's a city. So, but that's the other thing.
Yeah.
So I will put it down.
It wasn't me. I love you personally.
Okay, so election to the board.
Okay.
And then
This provider able to submit, and you say you want to submit some reasons why,
I think there, yes, I think, so any, you can put, I guess your
resume,
resume or your
I mean, it's fine.
list of reasons to be submitted, those to be, those that have it, and then in addition, allow for those candidates to speak at the meeting.
Okay, but does that need to be in here, because I don't know that we've got comments like that, or did he?
I'm going to bring it back to the board,
Went to
just the election.
And if you wanted to add there that any,
That people who are interested in submitting reasons why they want to serve.
Oh, yeah, that's what I need.
That's what I'm-
Just forward for consideration.
well, essentially,
Right.
yeah.
So you said that, yeah,
Right, and then all of the things that the board package, then they, but having secrets to someone. Getting. So. What?
So we added.
Okay.
Just for the clarification, the city of Carthage paid their money. But it went to that count.
They're no good.
I didn't understand.
They're not
Okay,
dead
back
beat.
on track, back on track. So, the election procedure, I want to add in there that if there's any documentation or reasons that the member doesn't do, and
Right.
that'll be put in the packet. And then making sure too that, they're giving out.
Right, and Mike's here too. Yeah, each candidate will be given 3 minutes to speak and may present written information as well.
Charts.
PowerPoint. Okay, I'll fix this up and bring it back.
No barbershop quartet.
Yeah, that's a win.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
Hello, my baby, hello.
Okay, moving on to
Voice.
But the written information needs to be presented at the beginning.
it'll be a big piece.
You have opportunity.
So we have an, second vote.
Sorry, who was the second?
Yes.
Any opposition? Any abstention? Okay, thank you.
Okay, on week 2, we're having a trust facility, update with our consultant, but we have, I think we're gonna do JPA and talk about the actual construction.
Yeah.
We had one of the staff meetings, and the issue still is, the issue is what kinds of, policies to get into, and where we're gonna get the money for the organization to run itself. And David, you wanted, is there anything else that came out of that?
Yeah, most of the big stuff got postponed to the,
Right.
so Mike Jenkins can be there on
Right,
the last
can't
one,
people be there and-
formation. Yeah.
So, you know, the issue is still, both cities need to make a contribution, who sits on the board, so there's still some things out. But I think they're planning to come back in October. Oh, I should have. They're probably planning to go back in October, to talk about the housing. Next then is commercial redevelopment, Jake, that, and the hubs.
So for commercial redevelopment, we have kicked off that project. The difference, just a reminder, the difference between this and our REAP 1.0 housing roadmap is this one is really focused on implementation, and the cities get to identify 2 sites, each for analysis, rather than the COG identified all sites. We have met with the cities of Hawthorne and Torrance and gone over their 2 sites. And we are working on trying to schedule a meeting with Carson right now to go over your 2 sites. Once that is completed, the project can move forward. This also includes a underutilized inventory of potential sites throughout the entire South Bay that are eligible and ripe for redevelopment. And that has begun because that's independent of the analysis of the city sites. And the deliverable will be for all of you. It'll be a pretty user-friendly interactive GIS map that shows potential sites in your cities that could be considered for redevelopment. So in addition to our participating cities of Torrance, Hawthorne, and Carson, the entire college will receive something from this project. And then Jackie.
Before you want to go,
Yeah.
I just want to mention, now that, Cedric, now that you're back, the reason we haven't met with Carson, Cedric is, have got to call back with staff. You've given them an actual deadline. We do not better vote.
McKenna Alexander.
If we don't.
Thursday, so back in the day.
She is, okay.
Okay, so we have to, we have to look for another slot.
She's the acting.
Okay, if we have trouble, we'll have to check, we'll have to go over that. Okay, micromobility.
Yes, so last board meeting, it was approved, our consultant recommendation for our mobility hubs project. It will be a combination of Fair and Pierce with Studio 111, who will do the design elements, and Trento, who is a mobility hub operator in the LA region, and they have a large degree of experience. We're working on contract negotiations with them, and the work will start quite shortly.
Well, I was gonna wait till, there's 2 M's on the agenda, so I was thinking maybe Jake can go on second now, since he's already talking.
Oh. Jake, you want to do S?
It's like M1 and M. Sure. And there's two F's.
Oh, and thanks, thanks so much.
They just wanted to all.
What? Jack, do you want me to give it SBFM?
Yeah, why don't you, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. So our current internet service provider, Race, since they have started working with the COG, their business model has transitioned. They no longer desire to be a ISP in pretty much all of SoCal. They're focusing on Northern California. They will be staying with us until we can replace them, but we've begun being with other internet service providers. When I say ISPs, these are the people the city pays the bill to and who provides the internet over the SBFN. We have met with a local carrier called Techworks. They have a large amount of experience in the South Bay in California specifically, including our neighboring subregions. And then additionally, we are meeting with another player called SurfNet. We've really looked at more localized internet service providers. And the first step is just meet with them, see if from a technical standpoint, if they can continue the operations of the ISP as well as the prices necessary. First meeting with TechWorks looked positive. They think it is feasible from pricing and from operation. But obviously doing our due diligence, we're going to meet with a couple other firms and see who would be best to replace that ISP.
And I don't know if, that the most important thing is to make sure they take over the operation, no problems, any of the cities. And we've assured that there's gonna be any kind of smooth transition, but we're not going to, partner with anybody that is not interested in expanding. That's what we want forward on this. Well,
Okay, I'm gonna stand up just so I can see everybody. That doesn't mean I'm gonna speak for 20 minutes, although I'd like to. So, it occurred to me over the weekend, I don't know if you all saw this, but here's LA Times had a whole section on imagining the LA future. Yes. Well, this was very stimulating because that's what we're all here to do, actually, is to realize the LA future. So, I wanted to jump off from this. I want to recommend that you all read Michael Hiltzik column. It's a part of what I consider, with the actually talked to the literature, as yesterday's tomorrow's, the history of the future. And he goes through how various writers have imagined the future of LA. But most of this stuff, like the land use and transportation stuff that's in here, is really based on a paradigm, Barry, on a strategy that's called the new urbanism. And the new urbanism, Congress of New Urbanism, was created in the early 1990s. And the whole idea is to urbanize suburbs. The whole notion is that the day of suburbs has gone past, and that's what we have to do is urbanize them. Now, that thinking is embedded today in everything that's going on. In fact, in the early 90s, if you were in a graduate school in planning, this is what you were taught, was new urbanism. So right now today, everybody in LCD and Caltrans and SCAG, if they're younger than 60, this is what they were told was new urbanism, also sometimes marketed as smart growth. So the problem with this is it doesn't work very well, and we're still dealing with it in terms of the HCD's regional housing needs assessment. So the irony of all of this is that in 1990, the ARPANET was commercialized as the commercial internet. That's the one that has changed the world so far as we know. It's the world we know. It's changed because of the internet, social media. The other thing is Dan Sturgis designed and built the first neighborhood electric vehicle. So what I'm saying is the principles that are underlying the structure of policy in land use and transportation were formulated and still with us before the key technologies of neighborhood vehicles and the commercial internet were brought to bear. So in many ways, it's not taking into consideration what we got. Now, the problems that we're dealing with today in terms of AI and climate are dependent on our solutions, our strategies that we're doing in the South Bay. Everything that Jake just said about mobility hubs and local travel network, you have to understand, is part of a pushback against the new urbanism strategy that is embedded in everything. And so we're calling, I don't have to call it anything, but you think of it as the new suburbanism. We're trying to retain suburbs and the quality of life that came with it, and the internet that wasn't part of the Congress of urbanism, and neighborhood electric vehicles was not. So everything you hear him say is about creating a new future for Los Angeles that is based on a model that's obsolete. That's why we have him talk. That's why he's presenting an update on the projects, because probably the updates don't mean a lot to you unless you understand where this is going. And I will add only that right now, today, the future of LA depends on what you all do in the next 5 years, because we got to get our arms around this stuff before 2030. This is not a long-term thing. We got another shot at it in 2060. We do not. This is it, 2030. Weather is going to overtake us. I will add, last thing is that the county, I just read the county sustainability grant, many of sustainability strategy did a lot of good things in it, but it's still based, urban land use and transportation is based on new urbanism. So stick with it and you're going to lose what we've all got. Thank you. That's why I just want to point out what he talks about. Any questions? This was an experiment. I was trying to bring meaning to the data, right?
It's the context first. And it really is interesting to think about the fact the internet would change everything, and yet we're still acting like nothing's changed. Yes.
Professional services.
Yeah, just two quick slides. Just on client A, just a quick update, there. We're still at an 87% success rate on client A, yeah, an average spend of $1,200 per client.
That's incredibly fun.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show they just need a little boost. We have two families in Torrance this past on the client A recap report, both with kids in Torrance Unified School District. One, her house burned down, and really homeless, and so we put them in a motel for a month, which is longer than our usual, but without it was right circadian view. And then we then utilize our new time limited subsidy programs to house the family. The family's doing really well, and they've actually are on their way to self-sufficiency. They've actually done the step down of our TLS, and they're paying a little bit more of their own income on it. We also helped this program from Councilmember Montero, the Hawthorne School District. It was that mother that was she didn't want to work because of the ice raids. And we did end up intervening in that case. So we paid for her back rent during the time that she was fearful of working. She's now back at work, so that's good. So that helped bridge that time where she was fearful that she might be separated from her kids. So then go on to the next slide. Just some quick updates. We have now the COG for the last board meeting executed both our Measure A contracts, our local solutions fund and La Casa contract. We're just waiting on counter signatures, county and La Casa.
You should know that this is a major point of contention in San Gabriel Valley. They don't even have their contracts yet.
Yeah, we're like the first
Yeah.
jurisdiction to do this. So really kudos to Addie and Miranda, really stepped up. I was on vacation here then. But they really stepped up and helped get us to this point. Speaking of Miranda, unfortunately, she has a health background. She has her master's degree in UCLA, and so she took a position with the state to work on our state healthcare system. And so we'll be looking to replace her. We're replacing her with a data coordinator position, so that'll be announced a little bit later on. But we're using our La Casa funds on that position now.
Tomorrow's the last day.
Yeah, tomorrow's the last thing. In fact, I'm gonna get out of here to grab some coffee before I send her off. But we're also currently interviewing for two project coordinator positions, one under Addie for home services, and then one under me to work more directly on housing related projects with La Casa. So that's still going on. If you know anyone who's interested, send in their resumes. We just interviewed someone from Costa Beach this morning. So yeah, getting some good candidates. Really exciting stuff. That's it.
Well, I just also want to say that we're working really hard to get up certification with us. And the CASA's coming up with guidelines, and start off that are restrictive and that are real, we find no problem. So tomorrow the comments are due, because of the joint comments. One of the comments that's galvanized everybody is that the legal agencies have asked for a 20% guarantee. And, you know, my initial reaction was, if I get guaranteed funds, you get guaranteed funds, because nobody has a guarantee. And so Ronson thinks we might actually spend more than that, might not be an issue. Issue is, we're starting off, never had this money before. Why in the world would you give some one thing, 20, any dedicated fund? We could figure it out as we go along, and then maybe create this kind of guideline. So the COGs are really upset about this, and, yeah.
Right.
So those are the kinds of things we're just trying to spend a lot of time on, reading the documents and coming up with the other COGs. The fact is that it's just starting to lose for us. The one that wants 20%. Legal services,
State
Your lawyers. I know. Save.
You have to say like, yeah, I mean, would it be for them for you contracts that the group? or-
No, that's
or
a mix
they
of
care?
events folks. It's a very expensive program, so they just want to ensure their funding. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know how many we're gonna give you those cities. But okay, I agree with that.
But we're sitting down with other cogs.
Oh, yeah, we do.
But do we have this?
President of San Gabriel Valley COG wanted to get together with the officers, I guess, of all the COGs. And this happens every couple of years. And we always try to arrange it, but we never arrange it. I mean, it never works. So if you want, I can bring it up again. I'll bring it up. We did have one years ago, we had two.
Getting down to get together, gateway thing.
Yeah, but that one other's just not.
Yeah, okay.
But no, but we're talking all the time. So it would be. We should. Would you want a board meeting or just with lots of?
It might be hard to coordinate everybody.
Again, Mike, and now we're waiting.
So now we're going to South Bay Environmental Services Center.
Yep, so I actually gonna ask Eleanor to the presentation today, or to give you the update.
Hello, everybody. I'm just gonna look at the agenda on my laptop here, so I'll take your attention to page 37, for the environmental report. On page 37 is my contact information, so if any, need for the SoCal energy efficiency offerings listed here, mostly related to water systems, so let me know. And then we also have information on the project status of various energy efficiency projects with the SoCal in your cities. So the city of Carson, we're vetting EVA water heater projects, we've also even know it's wrapping up a new pool heater at the aquatic stadium. And we're also looking at lighting upgrade at the campus. We do a Hawthorne heat water heater program and for lighting. We do a Cat Beach heat water heater program and some HVAC systems. River Doggy Beach will use the Perry Park sports field lighting, trying to follow up on that. City of Rolling Hills, sidewalks for the Human Park Two program and Glen Hill, site lighting upgrade. Moving on, we have the energy resilience action plan. So he asked residents,
That was good.
I think it's have a lot of interest already.
if there's anything first. And we are also giving HVAC opportunities presentation to your staff. Under the energy related action plan program, or do not follow the unit, each one participating in this, and we help support serving residents on living potential Phoenix would like to have. So, Ren selected survey responded, so that they can baskets, so we're actually packing those upstairs now. And, that's it, it's for kids, we got districts enrolled,
Oh, you went very fast. I can't explain. They were all on the floor, putting these packets together. She explained, can you figure out which city we're doing? Explain what we're doing, because it's like Jason.
yes, so it's Gravina, Bermuda, Baltimore, at each, and so there's 3 survey respondents from each city that are getting the basket, like LED light bulbs, also aerators, a smart plug, and we're gonna be dropping off baskets for the residents to go pick up there. So it's a little bit of an incentive for them to fill out the survey. Across all 4 cities, we got survey responses, so it's any other questions?
I just, for none of each, it says, other identified projects not moving forward due to limited city funds. I guess how much money is needed to advance those energy projects? And also, is there a ROI? Like, we invest in those items, we're not gonna pay as much in our energy bill as.
Yeah, that's a good question. The HVAC projects are the ones that could move forward. I think because they're not big enough on the size of the CIP, that's what Earl said. But that's because there's pretty low incentive amounts for those projects.
Okay.
But we are going to have a presentation from a space and energy group who's presenting to everybody's staff at our energy management group meeting next week about some HVAC technologies, which could be potentially fully covered by the silver red. So I'd love to touch base with you about that. Otherwise, for a lot of the projects, the ROI is higher to justify it. The HVAC ones are just very costly, but hopefully we'll have more information for cost and operation.
And one of the things that we've been talking about with the staff is to create like an attic glance sheet for each of the cities that lists what the project potential is, and so you can see the energy savings also, and what that estimated cost reduction is for that energy savings, which is sort of that piece that I think you're talking about.
Come budget time, it'd be good for us, to know, so we can allocate money for you.
Right. Yeah. Right,
Cool.
because it's hard, I think, like, for, El Segundo's not here today, but like El Segundo, there will be identified a project that could pay itself off, like in less than a year, if they could just do the lighting. So I think it's important for the elected officials to get to see that.
Thank you.
I have your performance and document next. I know they.
Yeah, they need a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, Ron said, like, we just had a meeting with senior services, and it's really good, a lot of resources. Still running out of shop, but we're trying to do a couple of staff changes to get more focus on that. We have a grant that we've applied for a possible mobility project too. So I'm finding out, but nothing else. Jake, you want to give us the draft?
Sure. So for SS4A, still standing by, but moving forward, working with the National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration. There's been added language due to lawsuits against the federal government, which has changed a lot of the legal language. So the funding agreement is completed on our side, just waiting for the NISTA and
National Safety Transportation.
to add their legal language and then send it back. So we'll stay updated on that. Yeah, that's pretty much it for like safety issues. The peninsula is proceeding with their own efforts. Which is great. We helped get that started, working with school districts as well. We're seeing a lot more like registration or sticker programs popping up. And we're hoping to really create a regional effort for that with SS4A. So I'll update you as soon as we hear back from Max, who was our project manager, about when the grant can proceed.
let me clarify, I'll jump in again. New urbanism is about housing density, public transit, and bicycle. And what we're talking about is it's destination density, small vehicles, all facilitated by the internet. So the tools are different, outcomes are different, and the regional housing needs assessment, which nobody in this room loves, is being driven by this new urbanist strategy. So the more that you all can do what Jake just said, the local travel network, the mobility hubs, the safety issues, the more that we have the fuel to push back against this established strategy, that it takes an awful lot of success in order to overturn. So that's what all these numbers that Jake gives you, like this, that's right, and it's only about one thing, it's about saving the suburbs. And so y'all get on board and do this stuff, because it's important to succeed. My interpretation.
Content, we can change your title to context.
And for the local travel network, Carson and El Segundo just executed their fund agreements.
Good. That's the phrase of the meeting.
Okay.
You will get your back.
We'll move on to urban province.
David, you want to do that?
Yeah, there's much to report this month. I mean, we're pretty much moved in. The AV system is still being procured. So hopefully by the board meeting this month, we'll have this on and our permanent system installed. As the final invoices come in from the estimates, I think we're pretty much on budget. The estimate was right on budget, but I think the actuals will end up coming in a few thousand under. At least that's right now. So I think that's it really. We're just living in the space and trying to figure out what little tweaks we might need to make here and there and make it fully functional for us.
Are they gonna be microphones?
Yes, so the AV system will have both microphones for Zoom people, which are gonna be ceiling mounted. And then we'll have Bluetooth, like handheld mics for the tables for in-room speakers. And then we'll have I think we have one of the lavalier ones for anybody that might want to have that.
So we have to pass the microphones.
We'll have, I think we ordered 4 or something like that. So we'll have them spread out on the tables like we did at the old boardroom.
So we have to pass the mic.
Yes.
The ceiling microphones don't work to get onto the speakers.
I think ceiling microphones are tied to the Zoom audio.
There's no way to get the ceiling microphones to work both on
Right.
the speaker. and
I'll have
the-
to check.
Yeah.
Nope.
We don't want to have to pass. the
Also, a shirt machine, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to.
What?
We don't want to have to pass the speakers. I mean, the mics. if we-
But see, right there, that's an example. It's very hard at this end of the table. It's like the inverse squared rule. It's like the sound diminishes, but by half.
Well, I think
What? It's a fair amount.
I think an issue with them, all the ceiling mount, they'll have just a very loud sound. If they're picking up
Oh, everything.
everything into the in-room speakers, they'll have just a lot of noise going on.
How many mics were you playing with that?
I have to go back and look at both. I think it was 4 mics and then a mic, lavalier one.
Cause if we have a little budget, maybe we can just add like a couple more mics, because then we could
I don't
do.
want more mics. We were talking about drop mics. That's something different. Yeah, so.
But you're saying it's gonna, it'll be too much noise in the background.
So that-
Or-
I will say that the AV specialist did design the system, so
Right.
it's not lay people
But if
designing
you had
it.
a mic
Right.
per table,
But
if you had like a mic per table, you would be okay.
That's what, we used to have 1 mic every 2 tables at the Western office.
Right, that'll work. I mean, that would work. In our chambers, for example, in the council, we have that mic and it projects the speakers in the audience, and when people call in on Zoom, they hear us just the same. So the AV person should really be able to get that system to work. Otherwise,
Right.
maybe it comes to.
Yes. Yeah, if mics is not enough at all. It's-
Well, you're gonna need one up there,
Right,
and then there's three tables on sort of shares.
I would say a micro amp,
I don't,
right?
want to- we don't want to pass the mic
Okay, so
around.
we'll go back and.
You want more mics?
Just,
Well,
Just
let's
go
talk, let's talk again about the,
Yeah, well, one thing about you,
Okay,
I can make it work, but we can't, we don't want to pass mics.
and so maybe what we can do, David, is add.
or it's desk mounted mics, right, where it's one for one of these
Right,
tables.
something like that.
I'll go back. 2 buildings
So
ago,
Western Avenue,
when we had one night, there was a table, so they, where I might be for this table, that thing, so there were 4 people. Had a mic.
just something, I just.
Where are the speakers gonna come to these micro speakers?
They'll be mounted within the room.
And there's no feedback machine.
Correct. It was designed so there isn't a feedback issue.
Will the AC pick up, David?
No, and they're gonna tune it so you don't hear forks and all that kind of stuff completely on the table.
We also lease, you also gonna, Jen said we're gonna be using this room for like Senator Allen when he has something.
Well, I offered them.
Right, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you gotta have like 11 or 12 mics in, because there's, this isn't the only group that's gonna use
Right.
these microphones. And there may be more tables.
And if these mics are projecting into the speakers, Zoom's gonna pick it up regardless, right? It doesn't need a direct feed from the microphone
Right.
to Zoom.
Could very well be true.
So we need to talk.
I think you need 10 to 12.
I also wanted to, I have this, if you remember the Western Avenue office, we did have, the Torrance Museum brought in art, and they changed it every 2 months. Apparently they won't do it for us again, that's not foot traffic. But I'm thinking if in any of your cities, if you know something to us.
Like rotating bars.
Oh, well, if something, if you could give us contact, maybe there's a way, because it was really nice. Yeah. Yeah, it just would be nice to, we have a lot of space and we put a lot of things up for our cities, but and if you have something for your city. But I just think like that would be a nice thing. Okay, so then David's gonna lose all his hair over this, speaker system, but
I'm
we'll see
I'm
what we
sending
can
you,
do.
I'm sending you text encouragement.
Right up there. Okay, I have one announcement and one, thing to bring to your attention. We have this opening on the Member Service Council. You all know about the last month, about the Service Council. You restricted the amendment to, the vacancy to Watts and Willowbrook, because that's part of our district. The person resigns. So this brought up, I asked Supervisor Mitchell's office, sorry, she left. I asked Supervisor Mitchell's office for candidates, because that's their area. And they came back and said, well, would the Service Council consider changing its time when they meet? Which I had never thought about, I didn't pay any attention. It turns out that every other Service Council meets at 6 o'clock at night, 5 or 6 o'clock at night, because people come. And ours is the only one that meets at 9:30. And people have objected to that. And apparently some of the current members of the Service Council don't want to change and don't care, but apparently, so I guess I'm bringing this to your attention. Not that I guess we can't control it, but I didn't know if we want to send something to them, urging them to at least consider changing their time so that the community can come, which is what the Service Council is all about. Donna's with them. It's Metro, I think, Don's the chair.
I think that we each. For the public.
What do we think?
I didn't realize this at all.
So, as a category of having.
Oh, well, I wanted to make sure that, because I.
Not that I don't appreciate the fact that the timing may not be.
Well, and also it turns out, I don't know if anybody in our Service Council takes but in some of the others, they actually take transit vehicles. Okay, so I will send a letter. And then my last announcement is, I'm very happy to report that I'm going on vacation. And so I won't be there in September.
Portugal?
No.
Don't think it's right.
Okay,
Not right. No.
so you won't see me in September.
And then B, and then you have
Yes, I just wanted everybody to know, I sent up to a lot of you, but those are left here now. That there's going to be a great free event that our supervisor Janice Hahn is going to be speaking along with 3 other trailblazing women, giving tips about their success and imparting some knowledge to all of us electeds and anyone who's interested. So I sent out a flyer, but it's in Cerritos at the Skyline River. It's got a beautiful view. And it's this coming Thursday. It starts at 6, and so we'll have, a reception, and it's all free, so you can bring anybody you want.
You said the flyer?
Yeah, I can just text it to you.
That's great.
It's easier for you.
So it's open to anyone who's in the room or?
Yeah, I think it's like, audience now, it's over 200 people. In it, so. Yeah, if you
Who
want
else?
to have a good
You
show.
and Janice?
And I'm not gonna be speaking, I'm a co-chair of the event.
Okay. So,
And
Janice,
so is Cassandra Chase, who's the mayor of Lakewood.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And Oh, good. Sharon Quirk Silva from the Assembly. It's Katrina Foley, who's a supervisor at, the Orange County Board of Supervisors.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
What is that this week?
It's Thursday.
Dear Lord.
I know, so, yeah,
All the
I
power
know.
players. All the power players.
so that means you have to be there.
I did, I think boss,
I got
time
time
off. That's
It will
baby-
bring Margie.
No, that's babysitting day.
Oh, where are you going to?
My new boss is only this big.
No, that's 3 days of fun.
He's mean. You don't feed him. so.
any other announcement? Perfect. Meeting is September 8th, 2025. See you then.
I'm not surprised it's already coming up on September. I just can't believe it's already 2017.
Okay, and then, so I retired after 44 years of sitting in. I have a
Oh, you did?
retirement party. So I'll get the flyer out to you guys, but maybe.
I
Sorry.
know, I knew a flyer.
Okay, so, yeah, so anyway, it's gonna be September 24, which is a Wednesday night. It took a while to do it, and it's gonna be an RPV in the Ladera Linda Community Center, which is a brand new renovated facility that overlooks the Pacific. It's right across from Trump National Golf Course. So it's gonna be a really beautiful venue. But it's gonna cost something. I can't do it for free. I'm not made out of money, even though.
It's not working anymore.
I know, you didn't quit your job, you have money to pay.
Yeah, right. September 24.
Open bar?
Wednesday night. Yeah, they have beer, wine, and something.
That was a no.
Copper line telephone.
Want to have proper line telephones, but we're not sure.
AT&T communication speaker.
It's not.
Any major spots?
Yeah. Yeah. Not every- Yeah, okay.
45.
Oh, yeah, we're.
Yeah, we're adjourned. You
Good meeting. That was good. Oh, but it's not first.